Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Midday Western U.S. Regional Forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. We're going to start this video by taking a look at our all hazards weather map because there's a few things in the near term we really need to be discussing. First of all, you can see that all throughout the Intermountain West and the Great Basin here, we are dealing with very high winds today and also the threat for continued fire activity. And in the Northwest, we're going to be watching a system kind of pull through with some pretty good southwest flow that's going to increase our chances of getting some showers and thunderstorms, and some of those could actually even make it into the Columbia Basin, and so we have our chances there increasing of getting some rainfall in that area. So let's talk first about what the winds are going to be doing later on today. So this is just a kind of a view here of those strong southerly winds that will be coming right through, out of Southern California, out of Arizona, New Mexico, straight into Utah, straight into Nevada. And with these winds at times gusting well over 30 miles an hour, we're going to be having a problem here with pretty rapid drying under some pretty strong sun. So thinking about that, also I want to just add that today from the Storm Prediction Center here on the 12th, we do have the risk has been elevated to a marginal risk in this part of eastern Oregon, eastern Washington, Idaho, and Montana. So we're going to watch for the potential for some strong storms there. And then as we get into the weekend here on Saturday, again, we're going to watch in these two areas for the risk of strong to severe thunderstorms. So could see thunderstorms that come all the way down today, all the way down to parts of Northern California as well. So I want to show you those first before we talk more about the fires. We're just going to get playing here, high resolution animation. Let's stop at about midday today. This is about 1 o'clock this afternoon. So what you're going to see is that throughout the morning this morning, some widely scattered showers moving through this section of Washington and then also along the coast. But the real show I think we're going to be worrying about will be later on in the day. So there we go. This is 5 o'clock. Getting to 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, and that'll be when the widely scattered storms really start to show up here on some of the instability of the day. And then as you can see in the overnight hours tonight into tomorrow, that's where we're going to be watching in this part of Oregon and Washington for increased chances of storm activity. As we play this through into the morning hours on Saturday, could be pretty widespread rainfall here across parts of eastern Oregon and Washington. Again, this is going to be elevation dependent. So if I had to put a number on it here, just getting right into the, let's say Moses Lake down to Yakima, this area right in through here, which is generally quite dry, you're going to see about a 50% probability of getting some of these showers come in the area. Some of them may briefly put down some pretty heavy rainfall. Now let's work our way through the rest of the day on Saturday. This is getting into Saturday afternoon and evening, so you can see the unsettled pattern still in control here across the Pacific Northwest. And this is going to last into Saturday night and then eventually into Sunday morning. Everything kind of pulls farther to the east here, which we saw in the Storm Prediction Center's outlook. So we got quite a bit of rainfall coming in that area. But let's put it in the context of soil moisture. Latest update here on June 10th. What I would like to do for you is I just want to show you where we currently sit with our soil moisture anomalies, remembering that this is in millimeters. So 100 millimeters is 4 inches, so 50 millimeters would be 2. So we can still see where we have a pretty sizable deficit in parts of Northern California. But the good news is that compared to back in the beginning of May, this is from early May, we can see that we've really made some improvements here on that soil moisture. So let's go from there to talk about the latest drought monitor that was released yesterday on Thursday. And it's important to see that we don't anticipate drought shrinking during this time of year. It's just the dry season. It's not able to do that. But we are very closely watching it to see if it expands. So what I'd like to do is to show you the 1-week drought monitor class change. And while I say we typically don't see drought improve, well, you can see up to a 1 class improvement in parts of Oregon, Washington, and that's great. I love to be able to see that at this time of year. So the good news is there's a lot of, a gray color here in the west, and we're not seeing the degradation in drought as we look back over the last week. We're going to keep a close eye on this moving forward. Now today, with the strong winds, we do have not only an elevated but a critical threat for fire activity. And that covers a large part of the Central Basin here in the Intermountain West, parts of Utah, Arizona, getting up into Nevada, and even the high country here in California as we get up into Sierra Nevada. When you get a little bit east of there, we do have the risk for isolated dry thunderstorms. And you know what these are. These are basically where the thunderstorms put down precipitation, but the precipitation evaporates in the very dry air that's near the surface. And again, we call that virga. And that's just a good example, good view of what that looks like here. We saw some of this yesterday. Now I'm going to zoom in here on New Mexico and Arizona. You can see the storms popping over parts of New Mexico. Some of these just sitting right up there on top of the mountains, but a lot of them not letting their rainfall get all the way to the ground. But in this animation, we can pause. It's kind of a fast animation. I do want to show you a couple of things I'm concerned about. You do notice as we just kind of rock back and forth here, we had some fire activity down here in and around the Phoenix area, so right there, and then a big fire here in northern parts of Arizona. Also some fires over in parts of New Mexico. In fact, if I just keep playing this again, you'll kind of be able to see those smoke plumes a little bit better. Now, given that, it's about the time of year we have to start watching this animation, and it's showing us where we have got vertically integrated smoke. So this is telling us how much smoke is in the atmosphere. And you can see that over parts of Southern California, we also have quite a bit of smoke in the air, but these are not fires that are in Southern California specifically. These are fires south of there. And we can see once again today where we are anticipating in Arizona and New Mexico for more smoke from the fires to get lofted into the atmosphere. So we're going to watch this all very carefully as we progress forward with our forecasts here throughout the rest of this summer. Now, as we move into the weekend, look at what happens in the Pacific Northwest. Trough number 1 sweeps through. That's the one that gives us on Sunday that severe weather threat over parts of Montana, for example. But there's a second trough kind of waiting in the wings. And the result of this is going to continue to keep the cooler pattern in the Pacific Northwest. But my bigger questions about this pattern remain in the fact that we keep developing troughs over the Aleutian Islands, and the wavelength keeps hinting at such that the troughs there tend to produce troughs across the Northwest. But remember how we've been talking about that highly variable temperature pattern where we go from, the cool weather like we're going to be seeing here in the near term to heat and then back over to cool. I think we're going to continue to see that. So let's talk about it all as we get into this forecast and longer term. Week 1 precipitation. Remember, I think we could be getting in here amounts from some locally, spotty showers that could get upwards of 0.2 to a ½ inch of rainfall in the Columbia Basin. But outside of that, pretty stormy there in parts of coastal Oregon, Washington, and then getting into eastern Washington and Oregon as well. And we could be adding up a little bit more rainfall in Northern California, which would be quite nice. Comparing this all to normal, you can again see who's wet and who's dry compared to average. From there, what I want to do is I want to show you 2 5-day time periods so you can understand where this pattern's going. So again, remember that on again, off again idea we've been talking about. The next 5 days, through Tuesday morning, the map on the left is the European model's estimate of total accumulated precipitation. And then over here is the following 5 days. So this gets us out to the 21st. So you can clearly see we're going to be going back over to a drier, and as you're going to be seeing very shortly, a very warm pattern here in the near term. So let's watch it all come through with our high-res European model. So again, early morning today on Friday, there's the coastal showers. And what we're going to watch is, let's pause it and step you back there. As we work through the day, the widely scattered showers then move into parts of the Columbia Basin and then butt up against the higher elevation land here over in eastern Oregon and Washington. So that means in the overnight hours right there, so this is the overnight hours, we're going to watch for some heavier local precipitation in this area. But still a pretty good low off the coast there, and it comes through on Saturday into Sunday. So we just keep the whole weekend unsettled. And then here comes that second wave I told you about on Monday. See it right here? This is the next low. And it comes through early next week. So this is now Monday afternoon, once again giving us chances for rainfall here. Now, once we get past that, I can probably just click play from here and watch from Tuesday on. You see things really kind of clear out after that. Only action is going to be over here in parts of Idaho and Montana. So along the coast, which is where we kind of focus in these videos, things are much quieter. So it'll be in the interior where things get more active after this, as you just saw in these 2 figures right here, right? Okay, so that would be our difference. Next 5 days on the left, 5 days that follow it over there on the right. Okay, from there, let's go talk about what's happening week 2. Now, this is interesting. That developing trough that was sitting here over the Aleutian Islands is slowly moving into the Gulf of Alaska. So what does that do? That seems by about the time we get to the 21st, 22nd, it's going to shove a pretty big ridge up the west coast. So this is going to be bringing the heat back on. And we're just going to see if this trough does in fact move and give us another shot at some cooler weather by the time we start the month of July. And that may be the case. It looks as though that's going to be the case. So what we're going to be dealing with here with all of this is the flows coming in like this, and there'll be a big area of higher atmospheric pressure sitting there, and the flow is going to be doing something just like this. So with that higher pressure, we're now going to be talking about some drier conditions and also the chances here for some pretty warm temperatures. So if you notice here, this is a GFS ensemble on the left, the European on the right. Now we've gone back to near average to drier than average conditions, while things get very stormy in the midsection of the United States. We're going to watch out for that very carefully into the week 2 time period. So here's your flip-flopping temperatures, if you will. Hot day today. Look at this up in parts of Idaho and Montana. But as you get over toward the coast, this is now where the flow's coming on shore, and we've got the cooler weather. So look at the temperature gradient through the Central Valley of California. 79 in the northern part of the Sacramento Valley, all the way down to 103 in Southern California. And boy, we're still adding up that heat in Arizona. In fact, I don't see this breaking much anytime soon. So let's play this forward. This is now working the day on Saturday. See, 106. But look at the temperatures here across the west as the cloud cover and cooler weather comes in. But as we talked about, we're going to watch it moderate. Sunday into Monday, heat comes back on in the Central Valley of California. And as we get out here towards Tuesday, now the pattern breaks down Wednesday. And you're going to see at the end of this time period, we start to see the warmer conditions rebounding back in the western part of the United States. Now, with the warm-up, again, we're watching for high evapotranspiration rates. So they're low this week in the northwest because of the cloud cover and rainfall. They're very high with the windy conditions here and the heat that'll be there initially. So we're off my charts down here in and around Phoenix. I got to adjust this color bar because you can also see how high, dry and windy it's going to be, hot, dry and windy, it's going to be there in parts of the panhandles of Oklahoma, Texas, getting into Kansas as well. So watch, this is now the 6 to 10 day time period. You already start to see the rebound in temperatures as the cooler, slightly cooler weather moves into, parts of the northern Rockies into Montana. But as we get out there, when that big ridge is fully established, now both models picking up on above average heat. Look at that. And so that would be how we finish June. But remember, we were watching another trough come through in this area. And so does this just last 5, 6, 7 days, or does it continue? Now, the longer range models are not going to be able to answer this question accurately for us at this point. And I've struggled with trying to make some sense of it, but I would like to just show you what the first week of July is now saying. So when we average July 1 through 7, you can see that it's trying to keep things hot with near average precipitation. But I think we are still going to be seeing a few waves of some cooler air coming through. So in other words, while we are anticipating a hot summer out west, I mean, that's been in the cards for a while, the question remains is, do we keep on this undulating pattern? And I'm going to be analyzing it this weekend because I think it all lies in the behavior of the global wind anomalies, the global atmospheric angular momentum anomalies, a little bit different there. And I'm going to have to look at it and watch it carefully and report back to you next week, okay? But at least we got a pretty decent picture of our next 15 days here as we press forward. And I hope that provided some insights for you. Hey, have a great weekend. I hope it's a relaxing one for you as we move into the summer months here, okay? Thank you.